So you're going to install the Cerec software. Doesn't matter if you're using a CD-ROM or if you're using your flash drive. You should see this window here, and you're going to click Run Setup.exe. And once we have this first screen, so it should move forward. Then you're going to select the language here. Here we go, we have the first screen here that is going to install the Cerec. This is a version 3.80, and you're going to hit next. You don't have to read the agreement here, just hit next again. Remember that as a student you're allowed to have a copy of the Cerec software, but you're not supposed to share this copy with anyone else outside the university. So we have the copyright issues. Then you have two options for installation: the standard installation and the user-defined installation. Just let's make things easier. You're going to click standard installation, and now the software is going to be copied to the hard drive. And this is again going to take about 15 to 20 minutes in a netbook and about 80 minutes in a regular laptop. So we'll be back in a few minutes. So the installation is done, and we just reboot the computer, and we are back here, and you can notice that now we have an icon Cerec 3D on the left side. We're going to double click the icon, and let's open the software. And normally when you start the Cerec software for the first time, the software is going to ask a few questions, because remember, this is just a copy of the software and you don't have the camera attached, or you don't have a milling unit connected to the software. So this is normal. We have this message here: 3D camera is initiation fail. So just hit OK, and now we have another message here that there are no milling units connected to the computer. So just select Do Not Ask Me Again and hit Next, and no device is found. That's okay. We're just gonna skip this part here and hit OK. So now the Cerec software is running. One of the things that I'm gonna ask you to do right now is you're going to click Setting, and you're going to select Master Mode. Just to let you know, we have two modes for the Cerec software: the basic mode and the master mode. Here, for now on, I'm gonna only be working on the master mode. We're going to click again in Settings and hit Configuration, and you're going to select Options. And as you can see here on the General Options, is unselect the Start in Master Mode. Just hit Select here, Start in Master Mode. You're going to select this option and hit OK. So for now on, every time you start the Cerec software, you have the master mode initiated. You don't have to go do all the time this selection for the master, for the basic mode. So let's just open a file. Just let you know that the Cerec software comes with some samples, some fake patients that you can play around. And this is a very good tool because you can play even at home doing some exercises. Let's just click here. It is also a good test for your computer to make sure your video card is working properly and you don't have any other problems there. I'm just gonna randomly select a case here. This is a crown for tooth number 14, and using the biogeneric function that I'm going to discuss later on. But once I hit next, let's load this profile here for this fake patient, and you should see the other icons showing up on the right side. And I like to just rotate the model and to see if my video card is doing okay. By the way, if you are using a Mac computer running the boot camp and running Windows in your Mac, you might have a problem here at this step, because even though you can run the Windows on the Macs, but the video card, sometimes you have a problem. But just make sure that you can see the 3D model here rotating. How do I rotate this model here? Just click and hold the left button on your mouse and you should rotate the 3D model here. Here you go, the Cerec software is installed now, and we're gonna keep going, and for now on keep working on the real Cerec machine, and we're going to show you how to use the right side menus here, and including the tools and all the other features that this software can provide you. So let's just show you how to play with the software a little bit here. Once you have the Cerec software installed on your machine, it's also a good thing to do to make sure the Cerec software is running okay and you don't have to reinstall again. So again, as I mentioned, you have the Cerec 3D patient. This is a bunch of fake patients, a fake clinical case that you can play around. So every time you hit a different case here, you can see a preview on the right side. If the preview is gold here, you have this gold preview, means this restoration was done. If you have in black and white, it means you only have the acquisition images and you can play around. The difference is once I hit this case here and I click OK, you see the 3D model and the restoration done. And it's just a little bit more complicated. You have to go back a few steps to play around again with the software. Again, there we go. This is a 3D model, and you can see the restoration is done. And by the way, this 3D model here is linked to a basic Cerec 3D model. Just gonna switch for the master mode. On the right side here, on the left side, sorry, you see this undo key. So I'm gonna click undo, and it's gonna ask, are you sure you're gonna delete this restoration? Just hit yes, and there we go. We can go back all the steps. Keep clicking undo a few times. There we go, you have already trimmed the reparation. Click again and select yes. So this is what I've been looking for. I do have now this scenario here that I have the 3D images. I can rotate the 3D images. I do have the buccal scan, and I do have the antagonist. So more information on the optical impression for the preparation, for the buccal, and for the antagonist I will provide you on the next video showing how to take optical images. But this example here, you have all the three necessary group of images to create a Cerec restoration. And there is nothing here on the left side, but once I hit next, the software now is collecting all these images and is going to generate for you the 3D model. Then for now on, I'm gonna play a little bit. So now the Cerec software is generating the 3D model, and as you can see here, we do have a 3D model for the antagonist. We do have the 3D model for the prep, and here we have the buccal scan. So I'm just gonna hit and hold here. Let's fix the buccal scan for this particular model. There we go. So once I have this group of images, the Cerec software is able to generate this 3D model simulating the patient's occlusion. I can also zoom in here just to show you that you have a perfect interaction there from the patient's occlusion, upper and lower arch. There we go. Once I hit next, we're going back to the 3D model for the preparation. And now it's time to do a trimming. So let's trim the die, and we're going only to select the tooth that you're going to be working with. If you don't know what to do on the Cerec software, always take a look on the left lower side, and the software is telling you what to do on this particular step. So right here we have a trim preparation. How do we trim preparation? We're going to use your mouse, and over here you can see there is a blue line. You're going to select right into the interproximal area, double left click. There we go. Now I have a green line and a blue line, and I keep going. If you have one click, I will save the previous line, and I keep going towards the other side. Once I reach the other side, double click again. There we go. Now the previous adjacent tooth is a ghost image. It's still there, but it's just a ghost image. This is important to do every time you are working on crowns or inlays and onlays that you have the proximal area involved. So as you can see here, this first bicuspid, I have the occlusal distal area as an inlay. So the distal area, we need the proximal interface. So I'm just removing the distal adjacent tooth. Do I need to do here in the mesial? Well, not really, because again, as I mentioned before, I don't have any interactions with the adjacent tooth on the mesial side. But let's do just to practice. I'm gonna again double left click. I have a line. I keep going towards the proximal area. Make sure you don't include the mesial, the distal portion of the adjacent tooth there. Double click again. If this happens, now the prep is missing here. Just double left click on the tooth, and there we go. I have my tooth back, and it's interesting because now you can see that I have almost like a die. It's the same thing that the lab technician is doing when you send an impression to the lab. So they're going to pour a cast, and they're going to cut die here. Now I only have the tooth with the prep. We're going to hit next again. The Cerec software is now saying, well, I just got information about the tooth you're going to be working with. I just need you to trim the antagonist. Again, if you don't know what to do, you're going to see down here, trim the antagonist. So let's trim the antagonist. I'm going to select the area that is going to be attached or in relation with my restoration. I'm only doing left clicks here in order to create this curve. And once I have my black cross there touching the blue line again, double click. And there we go. I have selected only the area that I think it is important for my occlusion. You can see that it's like almost like a ghost image for the remaining antagonist teeth. Just as a reference for you once you have this information available. I'm gonna hit next again, and now the Cerec is telling me, the software is telling me to enter the margin. How do I zoom in or zoom out? You can click here on the right side, larger or smaller. Or if you're using your computer mouse, just scroll in or scroll down, and you can have the zoom in and zoom out. So normally for the margin, I like to maximize my prep as much as I can, and then I pick a point or a margin that is good, and I can see what exactly is the margin, and I would do a double left click here. And as you can see, I have a red dot right there. So that means the software memorized that area as an initial part for the margin. So as you can see, if you keep moving my mouse around the prep, this is called the automatic margin finder. That means the software can see where is the margin, and it's pretty much doing the margin for you. However, if you want to practice better, or if you're not really sure if the software is doing a good job, you can click or you can press the space bar. And once you press the space bar on your computer, on your keyboard, now we are no longer on the automatic margin finder, we are on the manual margin finder. And it's the same thing, but as you can see, it's not turning automatically. So it's up to you. Personally, I prefer to use both together. If I have a decent margin, very crisp and 90 degrees margin on my inlays or on my crowns, I can use the automatic margin finder. However, if you have a specific area that the software cannot capture it properly or not determine properly the margin, then I switch back for the manual and then I keep going, make sure that the margin is right there. Don't worry, because at this point here we can play the margin as much as you can. You can fix and you can move the margins later on. So this is not a big deal. Just gonna show you, gonna go back to the automatic margin finder. And one suggestion I give you is every time you have a curve like that, just do one left click. So now you can see we have a blue line and a green line. The blue line is saved already, so you don't have to go back there. So you see this spot here that have a more curve there. I'm gonna left click and keep going. So make sure you have a decent margin. If you click the left button and hold it, you're going to rotate the prep in order to see better the proximal area. Rotate back, and once I'm back to my previous red dot, double click it. What happens now, you can see the red dot is missing and all the margin has been saved. Now, as you probably can see, we do have some mistakes there, right, on the margin. That's okay. As I mentioned before, even saving the margin at this step, I can easily go back, and as you can see, I have a problem here in the interproximal area. I'm going to double click right on the blue line on one side, and I have a brand new green line, and double click on the other side. There we go. I just fixed that proximal area. Another spot here that I'm not really sure if that is the margin. Double click. And my suggestion for you is always keeping rotating your 3D model, because this is a better way to see the margin. As you can see over here, I'm not really sure. I think the margin is higher. And if you're doing a clinical case and you have a patient right beside you on your chair, don't hesitate to go back and see inside the mouth. Make sure the margin is right there, because this is the predetermination for the margin for the computer. Once this is an inlay, I think the margin is right here, not right there. That's okay. I can easily double click and put the margin whatever I want. And this is also a very good tool for you to evaluate the prep. If you have an undercut, you can easily see here. Again, you can maximize up to 12 times the image. Or this is something that you're never going to be able to see on the patient's mouth. You can see here. So again, evaluate the undercut area, evaluate the margin, evaluate if you don't have a missing spot here that was not really well defined. Go back, fix, and take new images. Evaluate also if you have all the angles are internally, they are rounded. I don't see any sharp angles right here. So I would say this is a very good prep for the Cerec or for CAD-CAM. On the right side here, you also see a couple of arrows, and so if you put your mouse close there, the software gonna tell you what exactly it means. So you can see like cervical, buccal, mesial, distal. Let's click occlusal here. There we go. The software gonna adjust the image the way you want. Buccal, mesial, distal, cervical, and lingual. And you also notice that I'm moving the image on the screen this way without rotating. I'm doing that only pressing and holding the right button, not the left one, but the right button. So pressing the right button, I can move my image whatever I want, here or there. And the left button is going to rotate the 3D image. This step is done. I think the margin is pretty good. I'm gonna hit next. There we go. Go back and see here again the Cerec software is telling you determine the insertion axis or the insertion path for this restoration. What it means that is, let's say if I do like that, I rotate my 3D model, you see a yellow spot here, and that means this is an undercut. So the Cerec is just asking, make sure you take a look in your prep, and you're going to adjust on the screen in a way that you don't see any undercut. And this is the right path of insertion. I think this is pretty good. Once you have the perfect position here, hit next again. So what is happening now is the Cerec software is taking all the information that you provide, including the optical impression from the prep, from the antagonist, also taking consideration the margin area that you have included for this particular preparation, and it's trying to adjust here approximately 400 different restorations, taking consideration again all the information previously provided. We call this the biogeneric. That means the software is taking advantage of a database called the biogeneric, and it's also collecting information for the adjacent teeth in terms of anatomy. So as a result, I do have a 3D model of my restoration, and you can see that this is a pretty good anatomy compared to the adjacent tooth. It's pretty similar. I have the central grooves, accessory grooves here. I also have the contact there. I don't see any space here. That means there is a contact area with the adjacent tooth. Again, this is only occlusal distal restoration. I'll have the mesial involved. And let's just play around here. Let me introduce you to the first right menu. Again, I told you about these arrows here that you can click and you can move your restoration in different views. But the first one here is trim. Remember previously I was trimming the preparation or creating a die. There we go. If I click here, I'm back to the same die, and I no longer have the adjacent teeth here. So it's a better way to see if this virtual restoration is right there in place. I don't have open margins. Interesting is now I have a different key here, is the contact. So clicking in contact, the Cerec now is giving me the contact area of the adjacent tooth. And we're going to discuss this information more in details during the lecture and in other videos, but once you have this blue area, means we almost having contact, not really a very heavy contact. What you can do is you can just go here on the right side and you can see mesial and distal contact. Once I hit distal contact, there we go. Now the Cerec software has adjusted the distal contact. Can you see a green and a yellow color in the proximal area? That means that the green is about 25 to 30 microns contact. Yellow is about 30 to 50 microns contact. Normally I like to keep a yellow color in the proximal area. If you have red here in the proximal contact, that means this is a heavy contact. You might have problems with the proximal area, and some adjustments might be necessary. So if you want to see the antagonist here, you're gonna click antagonist on this right menu, and the Cerec software is providing options for the antagonist. Let's hit antagonist, and there we go. I have a 3D virtual antagonist, and I hope you can see that that is one spot that is touching right on the lingual area there. Fortunately, here we don't have a proximal contact with the antagonist, probably because this patient's mouth was different, was a class 2 or class 1 ortho case. And there we go. You can see also the antagonist surface. Again, we're just doing this thing here for you to play around. You can play with the software, you can do this over and over again until you are familiar with the features. We're not going to explore this lower menu here. This is more complicated. We're going to do that later on. But I want you to play around with this upper right menu and play with the antagonist. There we go. This is a decent restoration. Let's click again in trim. I have the adjacent teeth back there. Now I can easily or visually see that I have a decent contact on my distal area. And if you just want to see what happens when you click next, and the software is going to generate a 3D preview for the restoration. And you can see the lingual surface, the mesial, the distal, and you also notice that is a small sprue here, right? Well, this sprue is the finishing connection with the block that we're going to use to mill this restoration. If you want to see the block here, the virtual block, you can also do that. Let's click here on this left menu. You're going to select block visualization, and I'm going to, let's just pick one block here, Serona Cerec blocks. There we go. So this is the block that you're going to use on the milling unit. This is the metal portion that is connected or attached to the milling unit, and this white area here would be the virtual ceramic restoration. And so as you can see, with a sprue here is going to be the left portion connecting the restoration to the remaining ceramic material over here. Okay, so this is done. Again, this is just an exercise for you to get familiar with the software. If you want to go back and do everything again, just keep kicking undo, and you're going to keep it going back to the image there. Again, this is a very good exercise for you to get familiar with the Cerec software. I like to go back to the first screen when I have all the images available in 3D, so then I can go back and start trimming, define the margin, path of insertion, and so on.